Hello and welcome to another episode of Guyanese Swag. My name is Key McKay. I am your host, and we have a very special guest today. She is literally been on a mission, on a journey to learn her roots, unlearn biases, unlearn stereotypes, breaking down cultural norms. She is really passionate about showcasing countries and cultures through lived experiences. Her name is CharisMaggie, and I'm really excited to be having this conversation with her. How are you doing today?
Hey, I am great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be on this platform and, just have this chat with you today. So thank you again for having me.
You're most welcome. I always start the conversation asking, what part of Guyana were you born?
So I was born in New Amsterdam. I remember going back like a couple years ago. I was about 14 or so. Yeah, I enjoyed my time there. But yeah, big up all the people from New Amsterdam. Yes, that's where I'm from.
And so tell us about the journey, because for those who don't know you, they're just connected with you. Tell us that journey of getting to Toronto.
Okay, all right. So, how much time do y'all have? Okay,
So
I'm gonna
let's
give you
go
the
with
short
the where you
version.
were born, where you moved to, that whole diaspora thing.
All right. So my parents had me in Guyana. We were there for about 4 years, and then we moved to Jamaica and spent a couple years in Jamaica, bounced around in Jamaica as well. So I lived in about three different parishes there. So like Westmoreland, Kingston, Montego Bay, and then we moved to Belize a couple years after. I did my associates there. So I was there for a couple of years before actually moving to Canada. Now, how I actually moved to Canada was because my school at the time had a partnership with a school in Canada that was in Newfoundland. And at the time, I'm trying to figure out my life. What am I going to do next, especially with school? All of the schools that came, they were so expensive, and it was just looking like university wasn't an option for me. But then this school, it was Memorial University. They had all the right things to say. The budget was perfect, and even though it was far away, I wanted to take a chance on myself and start this journey to live on my own as well. So that would be my first time living on my own. So fast forward to me moving to Canada. I did my bachelor's in Newfoundland. And, I always wanted to get a taste of Toronto, though, the city, the diversity, the food. I spent 4 years, y'all, not eating like oxtail and roti and all the goodness. So when the time came for me to graduate, I made up my mind that I'm going to make the move and start a life in Toronto. And that is where I am today. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's the little journey.
You talked about wanting to go to university and the fear of that possibly not being an option for you. And then eventually making a decision to go far away to Toronto. Did your parents go with you to Toronto, or was that a solo thing?
Oh, it was all solo. So I actually came to Newfoundland first. So that's how I got to Canada through that school that's in Newfoundland. So the first time my parents actually came to Canada would have been my graduation. And then I made the journey myself from Newfoundland to start a new life again in Toronto by myself. So yeah, it's been a solo journey ever since. And yeah, just navigating life as a young professional in Toronto, figuring out life as I go along and building a career as best as I can.
First of all, you have phenomenal mental strength, because a lot of people fear just even going from where they live in the same country to a different city. You got up and went to a whole nother country and then restarted again in a different part in that same country. So your mental strength and your mental fortitude is amazing. Um, let's talk about that, because I like to talk about mindset. I think that a lot of times people mindset keeps them from achieving things. So to look something in the eye and say that this might not be a possibility for me, and then having the opportunity to say, well, it could be a possibility if you're willing to go to a whole nother country, and being willing to embrace the fear of not knowing what it's going to be like when you go to Toronto, not having your parents there with you and having to start over, and then not even saying, hey, a year later, my parents are going to come. You went through the entire university experience and didn't get to have your parents in Toronto until graduation. What was that like for you?
Well, it was Newfoundland. So
Oh,
Newfoundland, I
sorry.
have to, yeah.
Yeah, I gotta correct that. Not Toronto. Toronto, y'all don't get the credit for this.
Newfoundland. Newfoundland. So this is what I'll say. There were a couple of things that I think helped. So firstly, God to protect me and direct me even when I was unsure, because I don't think the the decision for me to actually go to school in Newfoundland was like by chance. This was after a series of schools coming, doing their presentations. All of these schools were from the States as well. There was one that was locally as well, but it didn't have what I was interested in at the time. And so it wasn't really an option I was looking at. So this school was actually going to be the final one to present. And I had given up all hope. I'm like, y'all, all of these schools that come, they're already expensive. I don't see what this new one is going to tell me that isn't different. And so my friends were like, you know what, Maggie, let's just give it a chance. We never know. It's the last one. What do we have to lose? So we went, because this is after school. We went to the presentation, heard what they had to say. Not only myself saw it as an option, but my other friends were like, this not look too bad. It's seeming like an option for us as well. So I was so dramatic. I went home, I did a whole PowerPoint presentation to present to my parents, because I was like, this has to be it or it's nothing at all. That's where my mind was at. And so I did my little pitch and everything to them. And then afterwards, my dad was like, okay, yeah, we'll make this one work. And I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, go ahead, start the process to apply. So I was like, oh, bet. So I did the process. At the time, because it was a partnership with the school, I didn't have to pay application fees. As I said, I feel like God sorted this out, because the person at the time who was dealing with recruitment and all of that, she herself was a Belizean who was working at the school. So she was the first Belizean to go to the school. And I was able to ask questions. I asked questions related to what the area was like. So I knew from beforehand to go with my seasoning, all my hair products, all of that, because none of that was available for me as a Black woman. So I was mentally preparing myself for all of the comforts I was giving up, not only my family and the support of them that when times got tough, but also I'm going to a new country, a new culture that I have to adapt to, new food that I have to get used to, the weather. Don't get me started on the weather, okay? Cold, cold Canada. I am somebody, I couldn't even stand in an AC for 5 minutes. Yet I was going to go to Canada at one of the coldest parts of the entire country. So a lot of people looked at me like I was crazy, but as I said, this was God, I feel like, that was directing me to come and provided this option for me. So the journey wasn't an easy one, I would say, but I would say throughout all of the times that I had to move before with my family, three things that were very important is being open-minded to different cultures and just meeting new people, trying out new things. So I did things like skiing, snowshoeing, things that they say us as Black people, we don't do those things. Well, this Black girl was out here skiing and all of that, playing up in the snow, making snow angels, just finding ways to enjoy myself, because this is what I had to cope with. This was my life. It wasn't very social in terms of having a lot of options to like go out to the club or whatever. I felt like I made most of my intimate relationship with friends because we had potlucks. We went over to each other's places and had like games night, movie night. So that allowed me to get to understand and know people on a deeper level. The second thing was community. Everybody that I met, no matter where they were from, I just felt like if I had a way to help, whether it was advice, whether it was directing them about, I've been here for a year, you're new here, let me show you around how to get this and that. These things I kind of applied from all the times I had to move in building a community around me with people who were like-minded as well. And the last thing was just understanding that things are not going to always be in your control. So that happened a lot. There are a lot of things I went through in school, whether it was discrimination in classrooms or failing a whole entire course, and that I had to stay back an entire year to be able to do the course. These are things I had not in my control, but just had to push through and make it out. And the day that I graduated, I was like, I am finished with school for right now. I don't want to hear nothing more about school. People ask me about masters. I'm like, I don't want to hear nothing about no masters. Please allow me to breathe. I've been in school all my life. And so even making the move to Toronto, this was like I came to Canada, wanted to be a doctor midway through. I didn't even get to say this, but midway through, I was like, being a doctor is not for me. I want to do something else. Started my YouTube channel while I was in college, realized I loved it. But I didn't know there were career opportunities in it. So when I actually made a decision to move to Toronto, it was really, I saw Toronto being as like that place of more opportunity for me that Newfoundland I felt like didn't have available for me at the time, and it didn't. That was just the reality. And so I took a job working as a community coordinator at a nonprofit, and now I'm, doing work in social media marketing, which is my true passion, I would say, at the moment, in what I love to do professionally. So yeah, it's been a heck of a journey.
You took me right into the next question. Social media marketing and your journey, because we talked about this right before we started. I've been watching your content. I love what you're doing. I love how you're embracing culture and politically correcting people. Sorry, I was trying to think
Yes.
about the right word. Let me say this. But
Yes,
what was
correcting
the
all the
inspiration for
mess.
that?
The inspiration for which one? The social media marketing or like my content as a whole?
Both.
Both? Okay. So remember how I mentioned with Newfoundland, there isn't as much diversity as there is with Toronto. So I was meeting people who were just like me, international students. But one thing that we had in common that we didn't like was how people grouped us and like assumed where we were from based on whether it was how we looked, how we sounded. And we realized like people only knew like two countries in Africa and one Caribbean country. So if you had a Caribbean accent, oh, you're from Jamaica. I went to Jamaica for vacation and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I'm from Belize. Like my friends would be like, I'm from Belize or I'm from Barbados. I kid you not, we had like one Jamaican student at the school at one point. Not a lot of Jamaicans going to my school. And so hearing people, complain about that, my friends were from, any African countries, they would constantly have people assuming they're from like Nigeria or Ghana. And these people were sometimes from Cameroon or Uganda. So I even got exposed to other African countries through the people I met because I too only really knew Nigerians and Ghanaians because those are, the content that I grew up watching. I watched a lot of Nollywood films. The music that I listened to was heavily based on those two countries as well. So it inspired me to kind of pivot with my YouTube channel that I previously started to help people come into Canada, especially students, by giving advice and things like that, to now the cultural content where I wanted to speak to people about their experiences and kind of get to the root of getting people to know more about different countries, but starting with the basics, where is this country located? What are they known for? What are the people that you can find, like different ethnic groups? What is the language that you all speak? That is how simple I started out. And it has slowly developed into me, exploring now a big passion project on my channel is putting Creole languages on the map in making them be recognized as, legitimate languages that people speak that are a part of our culture and at this point should be recognized as official languages too because it's what the everyday person uses to communicate. So I would say that was a journey in regards to my content. But with social media, funny enough, it was while I was working in the nonprofit job. I kind of did social media as well because you wear many hats sometimes when you work in nonprofit. And so they didn't have a presence. So I decided to start one in doing that for them. And also I moved from just having a YouTube channel to starting an Instagram page. I realized that I had to learn how these platforms work. So YouTube is more longer form videos. Instagram at the time was very much like pictures and videos and stories and all of these things, lives. So I kind of self-taught myself how to use them, how to go about making a social media calendar, all of these different things. And then when the pandemic hit, I decided to start offering freelance services because I could see around me other businesses, especially small Black owned businesses, they were struggling to really stand out online. And one of the biggest reasons for that, they didn't have a strong social media presence. So that is how that kind of started. And I wanted to be taken a bit more seriously. So I did the Meta certification. And, like today, I'm just doing the best I can in putting myself out there so people know that someone is here to help you to really make your brand be recognized or seen online. And you don't have to worry about all these other things out there. It's just important to try and tell your story in a meaningful way, and then people will find you, your customers will find you and support your products if they're as good as you say they are. So that's my biggest aim with the work that I do in terms of social media marketing right now.
I have a question about the social media marketing. I'm going to circle back to that because I want to go to something else you said earlier about the Creole languages. And we briefly talked about this before we got on here. I told you one of the things that immediately attracted me to you when I saw your content was the fact that you were the first one I heard say out loud that Creole needed to be recognized as an official language. Because even for me as a kid, coming here from Guyana and going to school, sometimes I got grouped in mediocre classes because it's like, oh, you can't read. And it's like, no, you said tomatoes, I said tomato. It's still the same thing, but it's like, oh, well, it's not a tomato. And so they put you in classes saying, oh, well, you're not spelling it right, or you're not saying it the way we say it. And then it makes it feel like the way you say it, it's wrong. And so, oh, that's not proper English. And it's like, says who? What is proper English? And so you saying that out loud was, again, one of the things that immediately attracted me to you. So I want to dig a little bit deeper into that.
Okay, so I would say I grew up in Jamaica, and I remember, having to balance between when I speak the quote unquote proper English, as they will say, versus patois, the Jamaican patois. And I found that sometimes when you want to express yourself, the Creole language, it just has more expression, not just the expressions in it, but the way you can express certain phrases. Y'all know when you hear a Caribbean person telling stories, the way we have that attitude in it, it's just a bit sweeter, right? Certain things you can't really express the same way in English, like the British English way that we kind of grew up having to learn and use in formal settings, etc. But I think the journey really started when it didn't really occur to me at the time, but knowing that Haitian Creole was an official language alongside French, but then later finding out that it took them a while to even get it recognized as a language, I was like, but all my life, all my parents talked to me was Haitian Creole. I never heard a lick of French out of them, right? I literally learned French when I went to university. And that year I told you that I failed a course because I had to take courses to remain as a full-time student. You had to take at least 3 courses. I decided to take French because I did all my other electives, all my majors were finished, etc. And I eventually accidentally, you could say, did a French minor. So that was the first time I was really, really exposed to French. And part of me taking French is because I thought I could use my Haitian Creole knowledge to understand and kind of pass my way through the course. Big mistake, guys. It is 2 different languages. And from there, that's when the light bulbs went out. I'm like, aha, this is a completely different language in itself, because the fact that I couldn't even really use Haitian Creole to make my way navigate French. However, the minute I knew French, I could navigate my way with Haitian Creole in terms of words, because a lot of the words are similar. But when it came on to the sentence structure, when we're talking about grammar now, it is different. So that's when I saw this is like really and truly a language. And then I was meeting people from Mauritius and they also spoke Creole. And I was like, you speak Creole too? And then I moved to Toronto. And as I did one video, I did, and it was Mauritian Creole versus Haitian Creole. And that is when the request came in. Hey, can I come on your channel and talk about my Creole? And that is how I got to discover even more. It wasn't something that I really like knew off the top of my head, like, oh my gosh, there are more. I grew up speaking Jamaican patois. I grew up around Belizeans and spoke Belizean Creole as well, but it didn't click until that moment, I would say. And so in doing that work and just seeing how people are feeling some sort of, you would say, validation that it's fine, it's okay to not only like speak it, but even learn it. People are teaching it. That makes me know that we have something here that we can discuss with this conversation and kind of peel back the layers a bit more and get people to understand that yes, okay to learn the language. It is our language, it's a part of our culture, and it's part of what makes our culture so unique and beautiful.
Sorry, I'm like thinking like, should I ask this question or should I not? But I want to ask it. Because one of the things that I noticed when like here in the States, when you're going to school, you're required to take a foreign language. But the only option you have for foreign language is Spanish, French, or Portuguese. Those are the only three on the menu option. There's nothing else. And so it's like, why are these the only three options when there's so many other hundreds of thousands of languages in the world? Why are these the only ones? So the fact that you're having that conversation and exposing that, hey, there's more than three languages in the world, and it's okay to speak any of the other options, and it's okay to be interested in learning the other options as well. I really love that you're doing that.
No, thank you.
Sorry, I just had to say that because I'm like, she is literally the first one I heard to say this. So anyway, my question about social media marketing. Now let's talk about that, because like for business owners who are looking at this and they're going, I want to get my content online. Like one of the things that sometimes people will say with social media is it's crowded. And I'm like, everywhere is crowded. The street is crowded. But the way you drive a car is not going to be the way somebody else drives a car. What you do in your business is not the same exact way. Even if you have, like, one of the things I always look at is like, when you're driving down the street, there's a BP gas station and a Shell gas station exactly across the street from each other. They don't care because they know the person going north is not going to U-turn to go south for the gas station when they're passing one on the right hand. And it's the same thing. You'll see McDonald's and Wendy's, like they're all right there. And so it's like the idea of social media is crowded, so there's no place for me to put my content, I think is total baloney. So the fact that you're doing social media, talk to the business owners who are in that place and trying to figure out what they should be putting, how they should be putting it, and whether or not social media is even the right place for them.
Yeah, for sure. I would say it is okay to feel like it is crowded, but you go into a grocery store and you see so many different brands of bread, right? What if the one that you really like, what if the person decided, you know what, there are already 5 different brands, I don't have anything to offer? That's probably, that's technically what you're telling yourself when you say that social media is too crowded. I could say that as a content creator. There are so many content creators right now on the platform who are doing content, not just similar to me, but just creating content as a whole. And so naturally, all of us are kind of, competing for competition. What I would say, and this is something that I've seen even recently with my platform and how it has grown, is the minute you really find your voice and what you want to say, you will find the people who are looking for that. And specifically speaking to the business owners, one thing I feel like stops business owners from properly using social media is, one, y'all need to stop listening to the gurus that tell you you have to post 50 times a day and you have to go viral and all those things that give you that uneasy feeling that makes you feel you're inadequate. Throw that out the window from now. Okay, going viral is not going to necessarily mean that you sell anything. Posting 50 times a day is not going to necessarily mean that you're posting with purpose. So people need to start defining what is enough for them. If you only have the capacity, because realistically speaking, most business owners, you not only have this business, you probably work a 9 to 5, you have family obligations, you're probably a community worker where you volunteer, all these different things. You need to define how many times you can post. Another thing is that it's important to just know who you want to speak to, the target audience. What is the solution? You're selling them the solution. So once you figure out what their problem is, make sure that your product is being shown up in a way that it is showing, hey, here is a solution for this problem that I identify that you have. Stop trying to talk to everybody and their granny, because everybody and their granny don't need your services. All right. So if you have a product that's for, I don't know, dry skin, speak to the different kind of skin issues that someone might have and how your skin products can help them. And you got to start being creative as well. And you need to make sure you're investing in social media, because that's another mistake business owners make. When you decide to start this business, make sure you're allocating money for marketing. This was involved having to do videos, whether you're doing it by yourself, so you have to buy equipment for that, something as simple as tripod using your phone, maybe little props, or if you have to outsource by working with a professional who can take professional content, pictures and videos for you. If you want to have influencers, market your product for you, you got to think about that as well. No one's doing anything for free right now. Okay. So I think once people get to understand that there is enough room for all of us, because we're all speaking to different people and we all have a different problem we're trying to solve, all in all, I would say don't be afraid to tell your story, because sometimes that story is what is going to set you apart from somebody else. And that is what will make people resonate a bit more with your products. Why did you start this skincare product? Was it because you were experiencing dry skin? You tried all these different things and it didn't work for you. You sometimes are your first customer, and that is why you made a product. So if you have a story to tell, tell it. Don't be afraid. People think, what would people think about me and all these things. It's time to stop caring about what people think and care about trying to reach your audience. But I would say it's easy for me to go on and on and on. The best thing is, if you're feeling stuck, to work with someone that can help peel off the blinders that you probably have to get you to create a good strategy for yourself. And I'm one of those people who can help. There are thousands of other people who do the work that I do. But if you're looking for someone to help you make a sustainable social media plan, I would be happy to speak with anybody who needs that assistance.
And on that note, we're going to take a quick break for a message from today's sponsor, and we'll be right back.
Meet Kim. She recently moved to a new neighborhood and has a craving for pine tart and cheese rolls. She Googled Guyanese restaurants in her neighborhood and received recommendations for Ghanaian restaurants instead. While she was at the park walking, her dog Kim ran into Susan, a fellow Guyanese, who introduced her to the Guyanese Swag Business Directory, a comprehensive listing of reputable Guyanese-owned businesses across the diaspora. Kim now regularly visits the GuyaneseSwag.net, where she can easily find trusted and reliable Guyanese-owned businesses and stay updated on upcoming events throughout the diaspora. Since the directory offers detailed business profiles, including pictures, videos, specials, contact information, and even reviews from neighbors, Kim is able to stay connected to her roots in her new home away from home. Register your business for free by visiting GuyaneseSwag.net.
Hello and welcome back. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Today we have CharisMaggie. She is an amazing content creator and social media strategist. We have her on this platform and I'm super excited to be having this conversation with her. So we were getting to some of the good stuff for the people who just heard you talk about social media marketing and they're going, I don't have a budget to hire a social media manager. First of all, let's talk about the pros of hiring a social media manager versus doing it yourself. And then for the person that's going, I hear you, and although I would like to hire somebody to help me with this, I don't have the budget to do it. What are some steps that they can take to get themselves to a place where they can have the budget to outsource?
Oh, wow, great question. So it is time for you to look to hire someone when you feel like you have too much on your plate and it's getting to a point that you can't even show up to even post one time a week. Like that's when you have to start looking for somebody. Also, if you're feeling as if you don't quite understand, like you have the ideas in your head, but you don't know how to express it. Sometimes it takes a point of view from someone else who can look on the outside. Like, sure, you can ask friends, you can ask families, but remember, they are sometimes so close to you, they maybe can't be 100% honest with you about certain things. So hiring somebody who has that outside perspective mixed in with the expertise of knowing social media and how social media works, they are more informed to tell you some of the things that probably can work for your business or not. Like, if you want to go on TikTok, for example, and your bandwidth is only, I don't know, you can only post one time a week, maybe they can, let you know, hey, you can do it if you want, but if you're looking for growth and things like that, it probably isn't the realistic expectation. So they can help you with your expectations as well, based on what it is that you can do. Um, if you don't have a budget, there are a lot of ways for you to do it on your own. And I would say look into already free resources that are out there. So I am also aware that not everyone is able to hire someone, especially when you're just starting out. So I have also, started a YouTube channel specifically for this reason, so that if anyone is looking for free tools, free advice, it is on YouTube. So that can get someone started. And if they still need the help, that is when they would have to hire somebody. But all in all, the main things that you have to do is make sure you know your target audience, make sure you know what platforms you want to use based on where your target audience is on. So if you're trying to reach, young adults, maybe, Facebook isn't where you're going to find them. Maybe it's Instagram and TikTok that's more likely suitable for your business. You can still have a Facebook page because it's like the father of social media platforms, but the one that you would invest in the most would be where your audience is on. The third thing is you need to know what kind of content you want to post. Are you going to do mostly videos, or are you going to do mostly pictures? Are you going to mix it up? Have an idea of how many days you want to post in the week and the times that you're going to post, and just prepare yourself in advance. So I think that is my advice for anyone who, you can't hire somebody. If you can't hire somebody, know that you will have to find the time to then do all of these things. So just prepare in advance. Every month we have different things going on. May is Mother's Day. If your product caters to mothers, you have to start preparing like from the year start of how you're going to go about marketing to people who are buying Mother's Day gift. If your things are more likely fitting for, Black History Month, some of us probably have seasonal products. So it's those little things here and there. It's a little bit of everything, but it's really going to come down to people just investing the time into using free resources that are already there until they can build up to the point where they can afford someone. In terms of how they can get to the point where they can hire someone, I'm not a business consultant or strategist, so that one is going to be more than just about social media. It has to be from the very beginning of before you even decide to start social media. You got to have your business plan down pat, because that will go in terms of like pricing. You're doing your markups of how much you expect to make every month. You're doing your overhead costs, all these different things that can then enable you to not just pay yourself, but then the minute you can pay yourself, you will be able to then pay somebody else to assist you. So when it comes on to scaling your business, there are a lot of things that go into that, but that has to do with the business strategy part of it before you even think about social media, I would say. Yeah.
And business wise, what is the right time to start to think about social media? What is the point where you say, is it too early for me to start to post content on social media? Like at what stage in the business should a business owner consider posting content?
So I would say there is no right or wrong answer for this, to be honest, but I would say the minute you already have your business plan and all of that down pat, so you already done the boring stuff, right? If it's physical products that you have, you already know who your suppliers are, you already know who what your inventory is going to look like. Because the other thing is, when you think about using social media, you know that you're using it because you're trying to reach your audience that would be interested in your products or your services. So you got to make sure that you have the bandwidth to do that. So someone like me, I do service based related, that's my business, is service based. I know that if I'm going to post on social media, it has to be in a way that if I'm telling people I can help with social media, whatever, that I have a calendar that people can book from. I have a website that people can go on and check out previous work, all these different things, because social media is really a platform to help with more awareness that can then trickle down into other things such as people buying from you. But usually people are using social media because they're trying to drive traffic to somewhere else, whether it's their website or their online store, or you get what I mean? Even though these social media like platforms have integrated tools for you to, people can now shop on Instagram if you have it integrated, but you still need to have the website. So do all the foundational work first and then get on social media, because that is when I know exactly who I'm speaking to. I know exactly where I can reach them. You're going to have to trial and error. It's not going to be perfect in the beginning, especially if you're doing it on your own. That is okay. But I would say just do the groundwork first, because that will set you up from when people start finding you. They need to be able to find where you are. They can't be lost. So use social media as like your online resume to then open you up to the possibilities of people finding you to support you on where you actually are to get the money. Because that's what we're trying to do. Use social media to get people to, sales. We need the sales. Yeah.
I love how you just said social media as your resume, because I don't think people understand that that's what you're doing. So the content that you put out there needs to look like you're giving somebody your resume. My next question is, as a content creator, we're now living in the age of AI. Obviously, AI wasn't just born today. AI has been in development for ages now, but it's now become a public thing. As a content creator, we're watching AI, quote unquote, come alive.
Right.
Right, as we're seeing the market grow and shift, what advice do you have for business owners about how to, one, incorporate this new aspect of technology, and two, how can it help them with cost, with whether it's cutting overhead costs or making the cost of marketing sustainable for them?
Okay. The first thing I would say is AI, it's made to like actually help, right? Especially when it comes on to tasks that are more, repetitive, ones that you don't necessarily want to be doing all the time. So it comes in different forms. And what I would say is don't be afraid of it. I know scary things are happening right now in how people are using it for evil, but to help with your business, AI can be very great. So I'm going to give some examples. If you're someone who you have email marketing, right? AI tools are integrated into a lot of these email marketing softwares where the minute someone signs up, if you have in the back end that you set up automated messages that this person signed up, boom, they get a welcome email. That is something that you're not having to go on the computer to do every time somebody signs up. It's automatic. So these are things that the AI tools usually help with. So that is one example from the standpoint of, you know, email marketing. When we're talking about like social media, simple things like even getting your content scheduled in advance. They have a lot of tools out there that you don't have to worry about every day. You have to actually be on the phone to schedule the post. There are tools you can use to schedule the post for you. You just got to prepare the content in advance to post, and then you set it how you want. I want it to post Monday at 9 a.m. That's it. You can go ahead and check to make sure it actually does post, because the tools are not perfect. Now, I know the big one that a lot of people have been hearing about lately, Chat GPT, Chat GPT. What I would say is be very careful, okay, that you're not too reliable on some of the AI tools. So the one I mentioned before, those are great to help with time and efficiency, because it is helping you cut time on you having to physically manually send out those emails every time someone new signs up to your email. ChatGPT can be great to help you if you are trying to think of ideas to come up with, whether it's for content. I've seen it done so many things. People have use it for like a business plan, and they just put in what they want to say. I would say it's good for saving time, but people just got to be mindful of how they use it. so that they're not too dependent on it, and it takes away from their personality and their creativity in how they want to also sound on social media. So some people, they might use it to write captions. Nothing wrong with, getting a little bit of help, but make sure you're adding your pizzazz, your flair to whatever it is that the AI tool has given you. Because everywhere we look right now, there are AI tools out there that are being added to the things that we once used. If you use Canva, Canva now has AI, related things in it. So it's everywhere. Just make sure that you're willing to learn how to use them and see how they're applicable to your business. That is what I would say regarding AI.
You just said something that I think is really valuable, not over relying on any sort of AI. I think for somebody who has worked in technology basically all of my career, I love technology and I love discovering new tools to make my job easy. But one of the things that caution me with AI is I think that the most important thing that we have as human beings is our brain. And the moment that you're no longer using your brain, you're like any muscle in your body, your brain is also a muscle, so you have to constantly be exercising it. So if you start to rely on AI to do everything for you, to think for you, to write for you, to speak for you, you have now stopped exercising your ability to be creative. You've stopped exercising your ability to think, which is a very scary thing, because if you have hundreds of thousands of people who are not exercising their ability to think, the world can go real left real quick. And so that's my caution with AI. I love technology. I love advancement. I love growth. But I think as human beings, we have to be mindful of how we use these things, as you said, and I think you said it very well. Bringing the conversation back full circle to content creation, your passion of showcasing countries and cultures, but then also unlearning biases and stereotypes. With social media right now, one of my favorite things about social media is now it's one of my favorite things and one of my least favorite things at the same time. Is now everybody is a news reporter. So now everybody can literally tell their version of the story, which is a good thing, because in places, in spaces where before people got away with being dishonest, because now there's so many camera lenses, you got to think twice before you tell a lie, which I love. The part about it that I don't love is that because everybody has the ability to now tell their side of the story, it doesn't always come from a pure place. And so sometimes it comes very toxic, and you have to be mindful of the information you're collecting. What has been some of the challenges that you've experienced on your journey to unlearn some of these biases as you're learning? I don't want to say as you're learning your way or the right way or the new way.
Yeah, wow. So great point. I think with me, because I've always been seeing other people be able to use their platforms, I will say, especially the media. The media for the longest had control of so many narratives, and I agree with you. There are things that we love and hate about social media. So for me as a content creator, it allows me to be able to put an end to some of the lies or negative rhetoric that have been going around. And one of those things that I talk about a lot is, I didn't mention it in the podcast, I think, but my parents, my parents are from Haiti. So a lot of the content that I also do from time to time, especially when it's May, because May is Haitian Heritage Month, is that I will speak about Haiti and speak about the history. Because for the longest, the narrative that has been painted of Haiti is, it's this very poor country, and they're poor because they practice voodoo, and oh my gosh, they got all this help from people and they're still poor. And a lot of people don't realize like that there is such a history there that literally tells you the story of what the condition is today and why it is like that. And also, if people understood that just because a country on paper is getting help doesn't mean that the help is being used for what it's supposed to be used for. Because a lot of people have found Haiti as a way that they can go set up organizations and pretty much drain money from people's good heart. People wanting to help, they send their money, but the money never goes to what they say. So with me, I always make sure that no matter how passionate I am about something, when I'm sharing the information, it's from a place where I'm steady. I'm not emotional in the moment, because sometimes I'm telling you, I'll see some stuff and I'm like, if I just take up this phone and just, you get me? It's like immediately the reaction you want to have, the anger. So allowing myself to process and craft how I'm going to say this, because I don't want the message to go over people's head where they're so focusing on, oh, she's just so emotional. I want them to hear me clearly. I take the time to research. I take the time to write a script, even because there are certain things I want to say in a certain way so people get what I'm saying. And I also try to be very careful, because it's funny that I would say I don't like to get myself in politics and my content isn't political. But for certain things, when you're talking about even culture and way of people's life, some of those things have been affected because of political choices and political decisions. So in some way, the content might come off as political, but it's simply me just telling people historical facts and information. So I just make sure I stick to the facts that I can find, that has sources, that if people come and ask where are the sources, I can state it. And whenever I'm speaking on things that are my personal experience, I make sure I am clear that this is my personal experience and this shouldn't be like, this is the case for everybody. I'm speaking about my experience. This is what happened to me. And if anybody else can relate, they can share their stories with me as well if they so wish. So it's like crafting this community. I try my best not to kind of have like pitting countries against each other, because that's another thing with social media. It's so dumb sometimes. You know, a lot of our cultures, they're so beautiful. We have unique things. There are things we love and hate about our cultures. And so even with someone growing up in such a multicultural household, it was really hard for me to really pick a side. And I realized, you know what, I don't gotta pick a damn side. I just go with what I love in the moment. I love the food of Jamaica. I love the food of Haiti. I love the food of Guyana. There are certain things that one, in my opinion, might do better than the other, but I am yet to find something that I can compare in that way, because all of the dishes that I've had from all these countries have been different. So it's like I just allow myself to fully enjoy the culture, and I just want other people to experience that as well. Because some people always say, oh, my country has the best this and that. And it's like, have you ever been to other countries? No. Okay, well, how can it be the best? You've never ventured out your own. Like, no one is gonna say their country isn't the best. Of course, have pride in your country. But I think it gets to a dangerous point when we start disrespecting each other. A lot of that has happened, especially on TikTok. I have a love-hate relationship with that app. People can be very vicious. So when people are truly, truly passionate about their country and anything that has to do with their culture, sometimes it can get to a point where we start insulting each other, and that's where I draw the line. There's no need for the insults. So that's how I try to responsibly share my content, and I just hope every day that I'm doing my best to do that. And whenever I slip up, I want to make sure that I am holding myself accountable, because mistakes will be made at some point, but I want to make sure that I never have an opportunity to have to make those mistakes, because I think about what I post before I click the post button. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. My last and final question for you is for somebody who has so many cultures embedded into you, and you ventured into so many places and spaces. One of the things that you talked about early on is being a believer in God and being a believer in the word. Sometimes I feel like people, when they have, like, not you, but sometimes I'm not saying you, sometimes people, if they're like, for example, oh, I'm Guyanese, so it means I can't do this because I'm Guyanese, or oh, I'm Christian, so it means I can't talk to these people over here. But you bypass those barriers and you've said, I'm going to embrace all these people and I'm going to learn from them. I feel like sometimes, whether it's our cultural beliefs or religious belief or whatever, it puts a barrier, it puts a wall against us having real human connection and relationship. How do you maintain your belief system, but at the same time venture into other people's belief and learn from them and take what you will from them, but that at the same time be respectful of their belief system as well?
Man, I would say The New Testament, I believe that with what God was doing, so this is me speaking as a Christian. I believe that when God sent Jesus, it was for him to be the new age. A lot of things are done a certain way, and now those things have changed. That is how I look at it. I look at how Jesus was. Jesus didn't judge people who did things that he didn't necessarily agree with. So I am not here to judge people. That's how I look at it. And even if I'm judging, I would say I try to keep my judgments to myself, because you never know how those open judgment can like cause harm to people or allow other people to come into the conversation with their own, they kind of use you as a piggyback for what they really want to say. And I don't want to be attached to anything that I didn't want to be the case. So I try to come from a place of love. I feel like with growing up, how I grew up and seeing what my parents went through, of the discrimination that happened simply for the fact that they were from Haiti, I try to implement that with other people that I meet. I'm not going to say I'm perfect and like I'm kumbaya with everybody, because there are sometimes, I'll meet persons from different groups and like they'll do stuff that annoy me. And it's so hard sometimes because they're like, oh, damn, like, but it's like just trying to like have that grace and just trying not to get out of character, because that will happen from time to time. There are things that people will do that will get on your nerves. You won't agree with everything that people say, but it's how you go about it. So I think we have enough pain and hatred in the world already, and I'm not trying to add that on to anybody. So I try to get to know people for who they are and not necessarily for where they are from or how they identify. Because as much as I love culture, one thing too that I would say is some people try to cling to what they know only. I can be friends with almost anybody because I try to learn about them as a person first before I look at, oh, you're from this place or that place or whatever the case might be, because those things are just addition to who you are. And I also hope with my platform, even though I love sharing cultures and I talk about my cultural experience from time to time, there are other things that I like to do, and I want to be able to share those things with people. I love food. I love exploring different foods and just being curious. I'm a curious person. I love to dance, even though I'm not the best dancer. So, all these different things. That's pretty much where I come from in that attitude. And it's just because, we have enough hate. Why do we need to add on more to it? It's unnecessary. So yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love it. You have been an amazing guest. I really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you for stopping by and sharing your time with us. Before I let you go, I want you to share with everybody watching how they can connect with you, how they can follow your content, and how they can most of all get involved and spend that dollar. So
Awesome. So I'm going to give you all one platform that you can find me, just so it's not confusing. So you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok and YouTube, CharisMaggie TV. So that's CharisMaggie and TV. If you're interested in ethnic cuisine, all that jazz, you can find all my information on my page. I actually have a series coming up very soon where I explore ethnic cuisine in Toronto. And right now we're working on highlighting a lot of the ethnic neighborhoods that need our support in, standing strong and keeping them present, because our ethnic communities are actually one of the things that make Toronto so unique. So look out for that. You can follow me on my page for that. If you're looking for social media related things, still connect with me on my CharisMaggie TV page, and I can redirect you to the necessary channels for us to connect on a call and things like that. But thank you for this opportunity. I really do appreciate it.
you're most welcome. I enjoyed this conversation with you. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. You guys heard it. This lady is amazing. The work that she's doing is amazing. Her content is amazing. I promise if you go watch, you will learn some amazing things. Even I was like, oh my gosh, where was I this whole time? So trust me, you guys are gonna enjoy it. And she has a wonderful personality. I really appreciate you guys being a part of the Guyanese Swag community. If you've not already done so, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. Hit the like button, and while you're down there giving us a comment, make sure you click the links in the description and connect with CharisMaggie. Thank you guys for hanging out with us today. Go out and have a phenomenal day.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell.